Final hour overdrive continues. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker. Now up on TSN 2. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, Jays Yankees tonight. Week 3 of the NFL gets started. Niners, Giants. I'm on the Niners, Team Hayes and Company. We got to come alive here. We're laying the points, 10.5. It's a big number. But Brock Purdy, I love it. I love it, Brock Purdy tonight. So, yeah, we'll see what comes of it. We got Jason Strudwick coming up here in a moment. On Leafs camp opening up. Connor Bedard on the ice. First day down in Chicago, right? He's embracing being in Chicago, and he's the man there. No one else is getting attention in Chicago.
Dude, he's the only one I've seen interviewed.
Right. Like Perry's down there. They got Taylor Hall is new to town. It doesn't matter. It's all Bedard.
That gets tiring for everybody involved. It was like the old Tiger Woods back in the day where a guy would shoot 63 and they were like, did you see Tiger shot on 10? And the guy was like, what are you talking about? When it's all the focuses, it wears off kind of quickly.
Yeah. Until he does something special. Like we were talking about it. You saw the highlights on the weekend. It was filmed with, an old iPhone 1 or whatever the hell that was going on there. It was just a bad setup as far as the film, but I was watching. Like that first shot he scored on a screenshot, couldn't even see the puck. I'm like, that kid can bring it, which is impressive. What it does is intrigues me, right? Because I'm like, okay, he did that against junior goalies. Like, let's see how he does against, pro players and NHL goaltenders. A little bit different, but he's gonna score goals this year. I'm really intrigued. I'm really intrigued. Yeah.
No, I think he's got a great start too, right? He goes through Pittsburgh early, which would be great to see him and Sid. I think they were doing the media tour together. Like, that's the passing of the baton. Like, when this guy's in his prime, Sid will likely be retired. Like, when you really think about it, when he starts cooking at 25, 26,
yes,
Sid's probably gone. Like, Sid probably isn't playing anymore. And, like, when Sid came in, Lemieux was still kicking around, and Yzerman was still around, I believe, and Sakic. But it's the passing of the baton, and obviously McDavid holds on to it now in terms of being the best player in the world. But the expectation is Bedard will follow in his footsteps.
Crazy to think that Sid is at that age now. Like, Sid the kid is 35 and got like 3 years left to play quality NHL. Yeah.
Well, to the point where he's kind of playing the role of Gretzky in '98, where I'm sure you saw his quote earlier this week where he said he'd love to play with McDavid and I'd be happy to play on the wing. Like, basically, if there is a best on best, I'd like to be included, which I think he should anyway. He's still a great player. Like, he had a great season last year. But it would be like, that '98 team was, I guess, Lindros's team, and Gretzky was just there. And it's, can you find a role for me where I think Sid is in a better position to perform and produce now than Gretzky was in '98. But the point being is, like, there's no disputing it. It's McDavid's team to the point where Sid, what I kind of read into that was, like, he'd almost be uncomfortable getting the captaincy in a situation like that, too. Like, it's McDavid's team. I want to play with him. If I could play on his wing, that'd be amazing. Where I'm sure if you asked McDavid, he would say the opposite. He'd be like, I'll play on the wing for Sid. Like, I'd love to see it happen.
That's something that would have to be felt out in how Sid was playing. Sometimes it just happens naturally where a guy walks in the room and it's like, it's not like Sid's over the hill. He's still Sid the kid. Like, give him the captaincy. That stuff happens organically. Everybody will know how to handle that.
Well, and he would be, it's not even the captain. Like, if he feels that he can contribute, like, I have no problem. Who cares who wears the captaincy? It's more about, can he contribute? Can he play in a top line, or do they have to hide him farther down in the lineup on the wing? I still think Sid has plenty of game left. We're seeing guys now at 35 that are in such great shape, having great season. Claude Giroux was 35 last year. He had a great season. Mm-hmm. Like, there's guys that are 35. You feel like, okay, I think Giordano won a Norris at 35. Did he not?
Yeah, he would have. Boy, he's 40 now, and that would have been maybe an 18, 19. So, so
it's amazing how as time goes on, like, the 35 every 10 years looks completely different. You know what I mean? Like, when Jamie and I were playing in the NHL, a 35-year-old guy was an old guy. Like, You're couldn't hanging skate. On for couldn't move anymore, and you're hanging on for dear life. And now it's You mentioned Claude Giroux. He looked like he was 24 out there last year.
Well, it just, he was reinvigorated. I think, change of setting, went home, all of that. But it's just, I talk about top-level athletes in the best of the best. That's Sidney Crosby. Like, he's not showing up all of a sudden and the legs have disappeared on this guy and the mind and the dedication's not there. Like, if anything, these guys get more cagier. Like, they could cheat the game a little bit because they have experience. They know where to go. So that's what's impressive for a guy like Giroux. I know Crosby. Like, Crosby's still going to be a top-tier player for the next couple of years. It was kind of like Jason Strudwick. He was a top-tier player right till the end.
Do you think he ever was so smart and savvy he cheated the game to know where the positioning was, Hazy?
Struddy? Yeah, I'm sure he got so confident at some point in his prime where he said, I don't have to do that. Right. I can take a different angle and I'll still get back to the back post. That's what I assume. Struddy, like he could cheat and still, you wouldn't know it. You would watch the tape, you say, actually, it was a smart play. But he was so far ahead of the game, he was cheating. Here's our buddy Jason Strudwick. Can you confirm or deny that, Struddy, that when you're in your prime, maybe with the Spengler Cup, you could cheat backdoor if need be?
Well, obviously Spengler Cup. I was elite. As I mentioned, I dragged Canada to a silver medal single-handedly.
Who was your partner, Struddy?
They still talk about. I think I played by myself. It was 5-on-4. I played both sides. They still talk about in that beautiful cathedral. What was it, 2000 something? Strudwick in his play, incredible. Yeah. You guys probably don't hear it. Maybe not carry all the way to Toronto. But no, I couldn't even cheat. I couldn't even cheat like on the bench. I had to be the right spot. Like I would get burned if I cheated. I just wasn't quite at that level. I actually liked it sometimes when the games got out of hand, 6-1 either way. The worst thing that happened to get a fight, but the scorers stopped trying as hard, so I wouldn't get dusted up quite as badly.
Yeah, that's your time to shine, right? 6-1 blowout, third period. Struddy double shifted. I love it.
Yeah. Not if you're -5 though, or -4.
Oh, that's a tough one to bring up. Return to MSG and Tom Gilbert, a -4, throws a pizza up the middle to Gaborik, and I just can't believe it. I've confronted him many times about it. He denies it. Look at the video. Everyone knows he threw it up there. Extra large. Double pepperoni right up the middle to Gaborik of all guys. God, I didn't play for a month.
Yeah. -5 at the Garden. That's tough on the whiteboard, I would think.
Oh, yeah. They're like, Tom Reddy didn't even write my name. When they do the lineup, they put like the 3 sets of defensemen. He didn't even put my name on. He's like,
he didn't even like try to snivel you into the 7 spot?
No, he wouldn't even give me that one. He was like, you know what it was? It was like the goalies, Rolison, Delorier, Strudwick. I was underneath the goalie's name.
That's outstanding. Employed, a part of the team, but no chance you getting into that top 6. No chance.
Not even one.
Yeah, well, listen, Struddy, it's got to be a good feeling, right? Everyone's on the ice, everyone around the country, everyone's feeling good, everyone's healthy, and everyone's in the best shape they've ever been in.
And feeling good and learned from last year, like it's worked on a bunch of things. And I always find it, the further I kind of get away from the game, I always amaze how much people and fans and look and say, oh, this is the starting lines for they've got this going in training camp. Like what you do in day 1 of training camp might look a little different when you get to game 1 of the season and game 40 and game 82. And then most importantly, game 83 for teams that are trying to push. So yeah, it's an interesting time. I think you just want to see how guys look and how they feel. And for a veteran, you're trying to get your timing back. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel in preseason.
Struddy, we've been talking about how young guys are, some of them aren't young anymore. Sidney Crosby and guys like Matthews and McDavid, like they're not referred to as kids anymore. How have you seen things differ with Connor out there? Like, He's not a kid anymore. You're not when you're talking about them through analysis or your show with Rashog. It's not like the kids or that kid. It's like these guys are veterans now. How does it seem anything different out there?
Well, I think we're hearing it from him. He and Leon specifically. Like they talk now about the team, about what the team has to do and how they have to. Maybe they're challenging players. Like Evander Kane yesterday spoke about. Maybe they have to cut like 3-5% of their offense away to kind of not cheat to the offensive side of the puck, to be better defensively. So, Evander Kane's a smart guy, but that's coming from Connor. That's coming from Leon. We've seen Leon work and Connor work with younger players after practice, try to help them improve their game. So you get to that mature level, and not to suggest that they were selfish when they were younger, but you're just trying to figure out your own NHL career and how you're going to play and how you help the team. Now, when you're a true leader at the kind of the top of your power, you're working with everybody, right? How can I help everyone be better, even 2-3%? What impact can that have on our team? The focus, even Connor bringing the guys out early for 2 weeks, just to say, hey, we're here to get busy, and so he's taken on a bigger leadership role with everybody. And he's ready for it. And Leon's there with him as well as, guys like Darnell and Nuge. But make no doubt about it, that is starting with 97 and 29.
So if the Edmonton is focused and locked in, you mentioned it might be the details with some systematic play. But for Edmonton to have success, is there anything you circle that I still coming into the season have a slight concern about what?
I think your top 4D, right? Who is it? I mean, I think we can agree it's Nurse, it's Ekholm and Bouchard. And then Cody Ceci, first year was really good, punched above his salary. And then last year, he was fighting through some injuries and maybe it wasn't at the level he wanted to. And when you look at Stanley Cup winning teams or teams that go deep, they have generally four solid guys, right? That just kind of really get it done big, long, they can get it finished. So I'm looking at what do they do there? Can Ceci get back up to where he was? If he's healthy, maybe he does. Does another guy push through, like a Broberg? Pretty young player. I think that would be a lot to ask of a young player, but, he might be able to do it. I'm not sure that Vinny Darnay, the guy who just lumberjacks people all over the ice, I'm not sure he's ready for that role or will ever be. Or is there another player that comes in? So that is kind of my thought process. What does that top four look like for game 83? Then I guess the other piece of the sign was kind of the bottom six. Where does everyone slot in? A young player like Dylan Holloway or Raphael Lavoie. Sutter coming back after 2 years of long COVID. What does he do? What can he play like? So a lot of questions kind of around those two things, but I'd really focus on that D, because I think that's an area that it's hard to compromise on that if you're truly looking to be a Stanley Cup champion.
With Jason Strudwick. So, we'll see, Struddy. I mean, Edmonton, we were talking about this earlier in the week. We were doing kind of an expectation game, like, throughout the 7 markets in Canada. And we said it was cup or bust for Edmonton. Do you think that's reasonable? Is that asking too much? Where would you kind of place the bar for them in terms of a successful season?
Well, obviously that's their goal, to win a Stanley Cup, and I think they're amongst those upper echelon teams in the NHL. There, you can say, okay, they got a good chance. Things got to fall the right way and all that kind of jazz. But they still have Leon for another year after this year. Then they got Connor for 2 more after this year. You just got to keep adding and growing and getting better, right? And just keep giving yourself a chance. So they added, Connor Brown this year. Can Bouchard take another step? Holloway. A guy like McLeod, can they keep growing? And then, you get to the point where, like, this is a really stacked team. Can we just add one more piece and now we've got it? We've got that finished piece for maybe 2 years from now. So I'm not suggesting they shouldn't win this year, but they just got to keep improving, right? Just don't take a step back, I think, is the biggest issue for this team. But the specific division is no joke. I think, obviously, they've got the Vegas here, defending Stanley Cup champions. And then I like the Kings. I really like the Kings. I think they're a hard team to play against. They're well coached. I think they're tough. Some of the other, Calgary, what can they do there? I'm not sure if they're ready to threaten for the top of the division. Same with Vancouver. Then Seattle, who knows? But it's not an easy division. So I think the Stanley Cup is a destination for this team. But they have to learn to play in their own zone and defend and feel comfortable defending in their own zone and winning games, tight games. And that's what I think their mandate's been since the end of the season last year. It has been talked about in training camp. I think it'll be talked all the way through, right till game 83.
Struddy, we were talking about the Leafs and obviously opening training camp today. The biggest news is a guy like William Nylander slides from the wing to the middle of the ice. Now, if you take a look at this Toronto group, they're very skilled up front. They almost mirror the Edmonton Oilers as far as, some depth up top. You're concerned about the D, and then I think the goaltending's adequate type of thing. Like, when you look at the Leafs, what do you see?
I've been very consistent on this, and I just think to the D, I don't really know what they are and how they're going to play together. Let's just look at John Klingberg. So he comes over. He is been known as a really good power play guy, but you already have Morgan Rielly there. So does Morgan Rielly get to run the power play, or does John Klingberg run the power play? And if you're not giving Klingberg the power play minutes, then what is he doing there? Is he just moving the puck? And it's just a really hard situation. And I worry a little bit about that D. Can they be a playoff team? Oh yeah, I think there's enough skill on that team. But when you get deeper into it, and to go back to my earlier comments about the Oilers, you need to kind of have that top four ironed out and understanding what everyone does in those moments and able to move the puck or be physical, shut down. I just don't know how the pieces fit together there. So I hope I'm mistaken, because they've a lot of talent up front. But man, if I was Austin Matthews, I'm looking back, I'm like, okay, what are we doing back there with that D zone?
Struddy, you saw it firsthand, the impact that Ekholm had. First of all, I think everybody in Edmonton and Canada realized how big of a horse that guy was. He looks gigantic in an Oiler uniform. I don't know what it was. I knew he was like a tall D-man, but he just got there and he seemed enormous. And the impact he had playing in tough situations, in hockey terms, probably high-leverage defensive situations, and the impact that just he had, it's incredible. Like, you need guys that are physical, that stop cycles and move pucks out of the zone. Very simple. And he was an excellent addition.
You couldn't have got a better trade, right? Now, they paid heavily for him, but that's the price for a really good guy to get. And he could not have been more perfect, because not only did you add Ekholm to the mix, Bouchard found a partner that really complements him, right? So, this year what happens? Do they keep Bouchard and Ekholm together, or do they maybe put the two Swedes together, Broberg and Ekholm, to help Ekholm groom Broberg, right, to become maybe what he can be? And because if you're not familiar with Philip Broberg, he was drafted pretty high, big guy that can skate, really moves the puck well, but hasn't quite found his groove. So I don't know if they're going to do that. I'm not sure how that'll fit, but I would like to see it a little bit to help groom that guy, help him bring him along. And then with Nurse and Ekholm, when it gets down to crunch time, you can have one of the two of them always on the ice. And I think, Ekholm Nurse will learn from watching Ekholm as well, and vice versa. And then you got Bouchard coming, the CC. I'm not sure how that'll all play out, but you can kind of see the pieces fit together. Then I look at Toronto, I'm like, okay, how's this going to fit together? Like, I think they really missed Jake Muzzin, and unfortunately, that ship sailed for him physically. Mm-hmm. But how does that all fit together? I don't really know how it fits together. And when you're trying to project deeper in the playoffs, I think you have to have a clearer picture than maybe what we're seeing with the Leafs D-core today.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think most people have the same viewpoint, Struddy. I think they're a good regular season defense core because of the way the game is played in the regular season. But it changes in the playoffs. The ice shrinks, it gets nastier, it gets bigger, it gets more physical. Yeah. And, if you're still playing a regular season game, then you're not going to cut it. It's not going to work. So, Trey Living's got to figure that out. And whether it happens between now and the trade deadline or now and the beginning of next season, I'm not sure. I mean, they're obviously in a window here. They're trying to compete, just like Edmonton is trying to compete. But like you said, Draisaitl's got another year. McDavid's got 2. Matthews is here for 5. Marner's here for 2 more, at least. Like, I'm curious how the GMs like Holland and Trey Living would approach that question, like what we just asked, cup or bust, or are they looking at it more in the terms of 2-3 years? And if they have to continue to mold their roster, I guess they might feel they have more time than the media and the fan base does.
Yeah, they do. And I think you want to see that constant improvement, right? Like, improvement of your team, plugging holes with better players. So you take a guy on the third line right wing as a 3, and you make the guy a 7, right? By a trade you make, or what they did here with Ekholm. But just to compare, like, you look at the Vegas D and how big they were. I don't have it in front of me, but I think the shortest guy was Alec Martinez. I think he's 6'2". Yeah. So he's about 3 inches taller than Noodles. So you're trying to just figure out, how do you get to have that where you take away all that space? So if you have guys that are on your D that are 6 feet or less, I know it's a bit of a copycat league, but Vegas did it. They did it with big physical guys like Whitecloud, Martinez, Pietrangelo, all these guys that could really get it done, and they were really good. Even their third pairing was strong. So that's when I'm talking about Stanley Cup winners. That's what it looks like, right? That's what a Stanley Cup looking defenseman or team has. And I'm not sure that, you can go that far without it.
With Jason Strudwick. So, Struddy, you've been coming on our show for a long time, and you've gained a real following here in Toronto. People love having you on, and they think of you as a Spengler Cup legend, as a hockey school maestro, as an NHL tough guy, as a Mem Cup winner. and as a guy that can speak for a certain portion of the community and of society. And I'm curious how you responded to Artemi Panarin going Messier, where he had a beautiful head of hair, and for whatever reason, he woke up and said, "I'm taking this down to the wood." And I'm curious, like, do bald people, do they take issue with that? Like, how do they respond to a situation like that?
It's a slap in the face to the balding community.
It is.
Why would you do that? Why would you just shave it all off? I loved his hair. And it's like he just said, I'm giving up. That's it. You know, what is he going to wear? A robe to practices too, like Mrs. Roper? Like, it's just a complete mistake. I can't believe it. It's so disappointing to see that.
Yeah, it really is. I love this hair. He had textbook hockey hair, man. In his helmet, outside of the helmet, post-game, pre-game, his warm-up, no bucket, looked great. I don't know. It's a weird vibe in New York.
I think it has. There's a buzz like on Reddit forums and stuff. It's really shook the bald community because people are just
they're offended.
Yeah.
People are
they're like,
rattled.
okay, now a guy like Struddy's saying, do I have to do it?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm getting some pressure. So I have my Uncle Bob, my dad's brother, lives in Calgary. And he kind of parts his hair down the middle like I do. And I always thought, man, that guy's got old man hair. The other day, I came upstairs and I looked in the mirror. I'm like, oh my God, I got the same haircut. Like I look like Uncle Bob. Now I'm about 6 inches taller and way fitter, but that doesn't matter. The hair's still the same. And if you guys ever seen the movie Weird Science, I look like the brother Chet. I had the same haircut as Chet. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I used to be a pretty attractive guy. Now I'm holding on to my Uncle Bob's look.
Yeah,
well, you still got the physique, Struddy. With it cooling down, down out in Edmonton, do you still give people something to look at in the grocery store, or do you cover up a little bit more?
I'm trying, buddy. I'm trying. Well, after this hair debacle, I only got so many good years left. Doc, I got to milk it for as much as I can right now.
I think you go spandex to the grocery store all winter because that's all you got. You can't show them your hair.
Well, you can wear his helmet. Struddy, you can wear your helmet. We were talking about how coaches have to wear helmets on the ice, right? And
just wear a bicycling helmet in the grocery store with spandex on, and you're good.
I remember when I was playing for the Oilers, Tyson Nash, the Rat, he was up in the box calling the game, and he sent me a picture he took from the top down to where our bench was, my helmet off. And I think it was in the group chat. I was just
it was.
I acted like I didn't bother me, but it bothered me. I'm like, who is that? It looked like a rat fell out of the sky and fell on my head.
Well, Struddy, we're looking at the pic right now. You're all business at the hockey school. I love it. Color coordinated, the orange jerseys. You got your helmet. That looks like an Oiler, maybe a Ranger helmet. Are you rocking the Rangers helmet or the Oilers helmet?
Well, it's another thing. I think my head's growing like Barry Bonds. I don't know what the problem is. Like, maybe that's why I have less hair. There's less hair or same kind of hair, but more surface area to cover.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
Exactly.
It's just been a tough year, guys. A lot of things I've realized is going it's not easy.
It's all good, man.
Well, it's all good, buddy.
We're happy you join us. And again, people in Toronto, they wait for you to come on. Really throughout the country, for that matter. And they're like, what is Struddy going to bring to the table, and what kind of advice can he supply? So I think we've covered everything today, and we'll have to do it again soon. Thank you for this.
Yeah. Say hi to Mitch Mariner, guys. Talk to you later.
You look great today. Day one of camp. Look great. Thanks, Struddy. Jason Strudwick, former NHLer. Got Your Back pod with our boy Ryan Rashog.
Oh, I love it.
Struddy making things happen.
I forgot about that group chat picture. It was jarring because Nasher was right above the Oilers bench, in the press box, and he took a shot of Struddy with the bucket off, and there was like, you could see skin, like there was a hole in his head. It was not good.
That would have been a while ago too. Was Nasher already calling games? Is that what he said?
Oh yeah, Nasher. I think Nasher would have retired before Strud, I believe.
I guess
because Nasher's older, right? So I think the last of our little group that we all hang out, it was Iginla who retired, but it was me, and then I think Struddy kind of went right after me, and then Nasher was the same time as me, and then Struddy met a couple years after me.
Yeah, I'm looking. Struddy was there in 2010, 2011. So
Yeah.
he was.
We were still in the media. I was in the media.
Yeah,
right?
you would have been in Toronto working absolutely by that point. And I guess Nasher, I don't know. Who
Yeah, he was in Arizona. He was in
probably?
Phoenix. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I guess so. All right. There you go. All right. We got the audio. Connor Hellebuyck will let you play it. You guys can break it down. Lindholm will play it. You can break it down. We'll get to our best bets. Brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Week 3 of the NFL starting tonight. We'll continue to tee that up. Vladdy Jr. out of the lineup tonight, but the MRI came back clean. Just inflammation. He's day to day. Jays Yankees tonight at Yankee Stadium. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Jays Yankees tonight. Barrios versus Cole. We'll get to our best bets. Brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. A little SGP on the Thursday nighter. Night 3. Or week 3 of the NFL already tonight. Giants-Niners. San Fran home opener. San Fran laying 10.5 points. It's a massive number. Hayes and company laying the points. We're on the home
Very
team tonight.
confident. Very confident, and I don't know why.
I feel very confident tonight. I do. I think I'm starting to see the board, and once I do, you guys are in trouble. Like, you guys are going to trip all over yourselves at some point. Credit
There's
where
going to
credit's
be
due.
a blip. There's going to be
Yes.
a blip, but I don't. I'm actually confident about tonight, and I have no idea. I just think Danny Dimes.
Mm-hmm.
Weird things happen in the NFL,
They
and I
do.
just got a weird vibe about them going in there and shocking the world.
Yep. That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
amazing thing about a line in particular. It's not even about winning necessarily, although you're suggesting it's possible, and of course it is. But these lines are so well orchestrated. You can spin it any possible. Of course the Giants can cover 10 tonight.
I would
Like, of
watch
course.
a 30 for 30 on how that gets done. Because
The lines?
Bookies
I
and
would
stuff.
I would watch a 30 for 30 because I say that to myself every Monday morning or when I'm watching a game that we're involved with. How could they be so right? How could they look at two teams that don't play each other often and come up with a spread and it's so close all the time?
It's amazing.
Yeah, there's
It's amazing.
yeah,
Like,
there's games that are complete blowouts, but it's crazy how often they're right.
yeah, with the total too, right? Like the total, you look at a number, they're like, all right, the total's 52.5. Game finishes 30-22. You're like, how did that happen? Like they just,
Yes.
you know, and
Yeah.
a lot of it's analytically driven. You know, like obviously the total's never going to be lower than like maybe 33, 34 if it's
Dude, I get
terrible
it, but
weather.
to be that close, that's insane.
You're right. And same thing with spreads. Like the majority of games finish, you know, by a point, 3 points, 4.6, 7, 10, you know, they probably have those numbers in front of them. Home field is worth a few points, but still, they hit it all the time. And it would not be surprising if this was a 10-point game tonight or an 11-point game tonight, 14-point game and misses a field goal to maybe cover. That's the way it generally works. So we'll get to our SGP on FanDuel a little bit later this hour. You guys want to hear the Hellebuyck audio? Connor
Yeah.
Hellebuyck was speaking, and maybe we'll come back and you guys can apply. We can go around the table on this. A role play level of concern. So we'll play the role of Kevin Cheveldayoff, the GM of the Jets, assuming Cheveldayoff wants to keep Hellebuyck long term, and we believe that he does. After hearing this clip today, when he was asked day one of camp in Winnipeg, what's up with your contract? You got a year left. You want to stick around. This was the back and forth with Hellebuyck earlier today.
You know, I feel like if I say anything now, it could change tomorrow. It's the business side of things. I have an open mind as I'm not closing the door to anywhere. I'm going to look at anywhere that I think can win a cup, and I know this locker room can win a cup. That's been my main goal and my main focus. That's how hard I've worked all summer. It's how hard I worked all career is to win a cup. So I'm standing here now telling you I'm going to win a cup. And that is the only, I guess that's the only information that I can give you is that I'm going to try to win a cup. I'm going to be patient. That was my goal from the start. Well, for my exit meeting, it was I'm going to be patient. So we'll see how everything unfolds in the upcoming future, but I'm here, I'm a Jet, and I'm just going to try to win a cup with this team.
Okay.
That's not as damning as
I didn't know.
I thought. Okay, so I got a little clip. I didn't get that full clip, so I got a little clip online, which seemed a little bit. This is the beauty of online. You know, the way people just clip stuff.
Yeah,
for
I know.
the
You can get a
narrative,
right?
clip a little different.
The clickbait, because I like watching that whole thing. all he's saying is, I'll let you know by the trade deadline if I think we can win here, and if not, I'm gone. And that's what I got out of that. Is like, I'm going to take time. I believe, he said all the right things. I believe we can win a cup here, and that's all my focus. And I worked hard, but he left it open. He's like, I'm winning a cup, and ultimately, and I think I've got time. So for me, I got out of that. If it's not going to be in Winnipeg this year, I would look somewhere else.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I got.
Exactly.
I thought when
That's
I heard
concerning.
some of the talk, it was like, well, I'm winning a cup somewhere, and it's definitely not going to be here, so they might as well get me the hell out of here.
No.
That was, if we don't win a cup here, it's my last go around in Winnipeg. Because if I don't believe in what's coming back here next year, and I don't get something done as far as re-signing, I'm gone.
Well, then he's
so it's
basically
very
gone.
clear.
He's
It's
basically
very
gone.
clear,
but
and it's pretty
but
simple.
It wasn't. But
I don't think it was rude,
polished
Noodles.
up. Yeah, no, it was polished up. I actually liked that. Because the clip I saw was just, like I say, leading the witness. So I'm like, all right, well then. But that full clip, basically, if he hadn't been coached up, it was like he was non-committal to anything and said all the right things, even though he's paraphrasing. Like I thought it was a really good clip. And if I'm a Jets fan, I at least know he's starting the season here, and he hasn't demanded a trade out. Or
And
I'm
it's
moving
like
on.
30 games in. If we're not where we need to be, you might as well get
Look at
something
something
back
else.
because
Well,
I'm not interested in it.
That's what sticks out to me is I appreciate that it's about a cup. Like I really appreciate that. And if he's being genuine, and I have no reason to believe he's not, I think that's really refreshing. As opposed to, I want money, I want term, I want a no move, I want to control who the coach is. Like if he's solely focused on, I'm going to win a Stanley Cup, I love that. I love that attitude. And
Right.
I have a huge appreciation for that. But now, we're not naive here. He's not going to play for free. He's not going to sign a one-year deal when he's a UFA for the, whoever wins the cup. He's not going to do that just to go and it's still a business, as he alluded to. I guess my take on it is I don't think Winnipeg is going to win a Stanley Cup. I don't believe they're like true cup contenders. I
don't
be wrong.
either. At this point, I don't either. And him
don't
saying
see
that
them.
he believes the room can win a cup, that's to not disrespect everybody in the room.
And that's what he should say, and that's what you have to say, and you got to catch yourself.
Yes.
So my read on it was that saying cup, and if that's the case, again, a huge appreciation for that, but it's also the ultimate shield because you're not answering, well, do you like living here? Do you like the way the team's
it's a mandate
built?
about what the team is all about.
Exactly. And it's probably
Right.
the smoothest way to transition out is, hey, guys, because Canadians, we have a self-esteem issue. Hellebuyck's American. I think Winnipeg does maybe more than other cities because it's the smallest market in the league. The whole no trade stuff, Pierre-Luc Dubois, there's been a history of guys being like, I'm out of here. Trouba, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Kane, I'm out of here. So I think Hellebuyck's aware of that. And I think the most respectful way out is cup. Cup, not Winnipeg, not weather, not cold, not no trade, cup. And
Right.
I guess that's the cynic in me is him saying I'm out of here. But instead of saying I'm out of here because of X, Y, and Z or Z, it's here. What am I, American? X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
It's cup, shield, cup. And then if they don't win a cup, it's like, hey, guys, sorry, man, I just told you it's cup.
That's
like,
right.
okay, well.
It's almost a
all right.
smart play where he just says, you know what? Maybe deep down he knows the Winnipeg Jets aren't cup worthy either right now. He said we're going to give it a go and maybe they can win it, but I don't know. You saw what happened to them in the playoffs. Their coach was calling them out embarrassed because they got dummied by the Vegas Golden Knights.
And they missed the playoffs a year before that.
Right. So that's just how he could be hiding behind the idea saying, that's my exit strategy because I'm just going to say I want to go win a cup somewhere and I don't think it's going to be here. And what you saw on the ice is evidence to my point.
Right.
So there you go. And goodbye and thank you for everything.
But it just, I like the way it was phrased because I think it was phrased perfectly because you can interpret it any way what you want, but you can come back to it as like he can say, let's December, January, if they're not in the playoffs or in a playoff spot, but it's not looking, and he decides to move on. It's like, this is why I'm moving on. That's it. And the guy, I think I said this before, I think in the last hour, it's not like he's been there 18 months. He's been there his whole career.
Yep.
He's been drafted, developed there. He's done a great job. He's won a Vezina. Like he's been a rock star there. He's put his time in there, and he's been a core piece in the backbone of that team.
Other than some blips on the screen, Noodles, he's been a stud from the word go.
Yep.
Like
exactly.
Not much else you can ask from the guy as far as his value and his output in production as far as being a goaltender for the Winnipeg Jets. You can't ask for much more.
I agree, and I get like what you're saying, Brian. I don't disagree with it. I just think, like, I was more preparing. The clip I saw was like it was cut down, so I was, I thought he handled it beautifully.
Oh, I think he handled
just
it well.
Perfect. Like that's exactly what it looks like.
I'm reading through the tea leaves is what I'm saying.
Right.
I think it's genuine. I think he wants to win, but I also think it's probably the perfect thing to say.
But it wasn't damning. You know what I mean? Like
no,
it wasn't damning. Like the gotcha moment. There it is type of thing.
No.
It was just
it's
that
not,
was
and
him,
it wasn't. Hey, my agent's going to deal with it. I'm out. Like no, he was speaking based on where he stands on things,
right.
and I appreciate that. And I'm not here to say I don't know how he feels about the organization or the city or whatever. I'm just speaking to the history and to the fact that he is a UFA, and there have been rumors out there that maybe at times he was looking to move on from the team, but he's not. He's with the team. He's a great goalie. This is something that needs to be stated, and it's probably something that goes without stating, is if they're going to win a cup in the next 2 or 3 years, he's going to be in the net, right? Like Hellebuyck is. That's kind of the irony of all this is the way they win a cup is by him probably pulling a Bobrovsky and standing on his head for 2 months. But we'll see if and when that comes to fruition. All right, do we have the Lindholm stuff? I think we have the Lindholm. All right, so Elias Lindholm is kind of playing the role of Nylander in Toronto, Hellebuyck, Scheifele in Winnipeg. So a couple of guys out in Calgary going into their final year, and Lindholm is a really good player. He's been there for a while, and he was asked about his situation going into his final year before UFA status. Here's how he addressed that.
Like I said last week, I've been pretty clear, about it, and I'm not the only guy in this position with 1 year left on my contract, so it's a big decision for both parts, and it will take time.
What goes into that decision? It's beyond money. Like what does a guy go through? Is it family stuff, like figuring out where you want to live? Like what goes into that decision?
I mean, like I said, I've been clear with what I want, and obviously there's a lot of parts that plays into it, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
So there you go.
That's a guy that basically told him, you might as well get rid of me, I want out, and I'm not signing here, so do it.
Or the demand is high. Like that's what I got. I've been
it could be dollars, Noodles. It could be dollars. But that seemed like a guy that has seen some things happen in the past where people in the same situation have gotten out and they didn't exactly prefer to be there, and he seems a little bit pissy that he didn't get his way. That's what I see from that, to be quite honest with you.
Well, just if you compare the two, like Hellebuyck it's night and day. It's night and day.
He seems like he thought the demand was going to get him out of there, and he seems a little bit disgruntled that it didn't happen. And that's fair. Like whatever he wants to do, I don't know. That's just the way
hardball, right? Or he's playing hardball, and he's like, "Listen, Johnny left, Kachuk left. If you want to keep me, that's fine, but you're paying a tax on that because if you want me to stay, you got to really prove you want me to stay." That was kind of my interpretation. It's like there's no negotiation. I've told them what I'm willing to take, and if they don't want to pay me that's fine. I'll be out of here.
That's what I kind of got out of it. I read out of it because he was kind of sharp on that. It's like they know what I want. Like they know what I want, and I don't like it. If put it this way, I think there'd be more smoke if it was just a flat like trade request. Our insiders would be all over it because teams would be talking, hey, we're looking at this, we're looking at that. Like, I don't know if it's contract demand, a little bit of both or whatever, but
but Noodles, my point is
sharp with that,
That, in the past couple of years, that idea of saying, like Matthew Tkachuk, that was basically his avenue out of town. I'm not coming back, so you deal with it. And the way they dealt with it was, okay, you're going to find another organization. And maybe Lindholm thought he was going to get the same type of treatment. He wants another destination, and he's not re-signing, and nothing happened. So he was probably like, what the hell did Matthew Tkachuk do that I'm not doing right now? Because he basically flat out told him, I'm not coming back. And that's how he was moved.
But the only difference is Matthew Tkachuk. Elias Lindholm is not Matthew Tkachuk.
I do understand that
marketplace.
completely.
That would be my only counter to that is, a guy puts his hand up and says, if he asks for a trade, okay, well, we're going to get marketplace for you. But again, that marketplace might not be there because with Matthew Tkachuk, yes, it sounds like he gave a list of teams that he'd like to work with and that. He was coming off a 100-point season. He's a unique player. He's up for the Hart last year. Lindholm has never been threatened with those types of situations. He had 40 goal scorer, 42 goal scorer a couple years ago playing with Johnny Gaudreau. Outside of that, he's a really, really good player. He's not a superstar like Matthew Tkachuk. That's the only thing I would say to counter that. And so there's a marketplace for him. But, not maybe. There is, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't know what that would look like compared to a guy like Matthew Tkachuk that got you pretty good. On paper, Huberdeau and Uyghur's a pretty damn good return for Matthew Tkachuk.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's there's a part of me that also believes from Calgary's standpoint, at some point you've got to put your stake in the ground and just tell players, sorry, I don't care what you want. Like, you're under contract, you got to play.
And
Johnny
shut up
Walker,
and play.
Tkachuk, like basically to save your own reputation and to send a message to players. You can't just come in and demand a trade and then we trade you.
I totally get it.
Right.
And who knows what kind of greasy stuff's been going on behind the scenes. Maybe there's a certain market that was like, hey, wink, wink, who knows what's out there, but we really like you. Like, there's greaseball activity going on.
Well, that happens. Collusion, like his agent got a call from
a call
GMX.
about another player, and they're like, about that Lindholm guy. I don't know if you like this place, but we like him.
We put something on the table, but they wouldn't accept it, and all of a sudden it gets back to them. Greasier things have definitely happened. There's no question about that. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. SGP for the game tonight, the Thursday nighter, Niners money line. Part of the parlay. You pay a lot of juice for that, but Niners outright. George Kittle, 25-plus yards receiving. Has not been involved much in the offense through 2 weeks. I think he comes alive at home tonight, especially with Ayuk out of the lineup. Kittle, 25-plus yards receiving. Kittle, anytime touchdown tonight. And Danny Dimes, your boy, Daniel Jones, 25-plus rushing yards tonight. All right, Niners money line, Kittle 25-plus yards receiving, Kittle anytime TD, Jones 25-plus rushing yards. We love it. SGP tonight. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is the exclusive home of our OverDrive same-game parlay. Please play responsibly. You must be 19-plus and physically located in Ontario. Come back and tee that up one more time. Jays Yankees one more time. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, big night tonight. You got Jays Yankees wrapping up their series down at the Bronx. Garrett Cole on the mound versus Jose Barrios. We'll see if Aaron Boone can keep his cool tonight. And you got Week 3 of the NFL kicking off in San Francisco, Levi's Stadium. Beautiful stadium. Beautiful stadium. And
you always do this. Like, if the team that you're picking, you pump up everything about the organization. You're like, GM's a great man.
Yeah.
A beautiful stadium. And
John Lynch is a great guy. I like John a lot.
But what happens is, if things don't go your way, you burn it to the ground the next day.
That's right. There's
Lynch
a very
is a
good
fraud.
chance that'll happen.
The stadium sucks.
Shanahan stinks. His hat's for losers. He needs
Purdy's a joke, and he's not even a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
How about that story, dude? Like, just out of nowhere to being a go-to guy and moving out a third overall pick for you to stay.
That's what's crazy.
Insane.
They moved heaven and earth to move up and get Trey Lance. That cat's in Dallas now because
dude, wasn't
Brock
Fields
Purdy,
in the same draft?
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was.
Look at the situation. Everyone was frothing at the mouth over those two guys.
Mm-hmm.
And look what they're up against now.
Mac Jones, too. Mac Jones was in that draft. And, it's not good.
Purdy
man.
the best one out of them, then, or not?
Well, he's in the best situation. Right. This is situational.
Good team.
You put Purdy, exactly. You put Purdy in Houston or Carolina, New England with those offensive weapons, and he's running for his life, and he's not.
Yeah, but
putting
there's
up
got to
stats.
be there's got to be some of it on him. Like, you're not saying that about those other quarterbacks you just mentioned. Like, you're not saying put Justin Fields in Dallas and he'd be a stud.
No, valid. And Trey Lance clearly would not. He's literally in Dallas, and he's a backup.
Yes.
Right. Like and Mac Jones. I agree. Yes, I think you put Mac Jones in San Francisco, they're worse than Brock Purdy in San Francisco.
Which is a frightening comment.
It is, but Purdy deserves a lot of credit. But he's got a great O-line. He's got great weapons. He's got a mastermind in Shanahan. And he's done a really good job, though. He protects the ball. He's mobile. He makes plays when he has to. I mean, all the cliches are there, but they have applied to him. It's been an incredible story. And he major surgery already, and he's back, and he's looked great through 2 weeks. So Hayes and company are on the Niners, laying a big number tonight, 10.5 at home. We'll see. Let's go Hayes and company. I need to get something cooking here, man. I need to get something going. And Jays Yankees tonight. So I have a lot to break down tomorrow. Dear Hazy Beal making its triumphant return tomorrow, as it always does, 6:30 on a Friday. We look forward to that. It's going to be a fun one. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out today. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in, radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
Danny Dimes, my man, 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.